Welcome back to the second episode of Bride Price, a culture or modern-day slavery. Previously, we heard how in the early 60s, as a result of problems of bride price, a decree was passed by the newly consecrated Bishop Joseph Kiwanuka that bride price would be standardized to 120 shillings and 3 gourds of local beer. If anyone paid more, the couple would not be married. During that time, there was a runaway bridal fee as the surge of education for girls brought the price high. People would demand 200 or 350 shillings, even reaching 1,000, but not 10,000 shillings.
Then I want to refer to the Constitution. The Constitution says we are free to practice our customs, norms, and values, but as far as they are not repugnant to natural justice. So when you look at cases where people cannot be buried, is that natural justice? Isn't this custom now repugnant to the Ugandan Constitution?
MIFUMI does not have a problem with customs where bride price is freely given and not refunded, such as Kwanjula. In fact, MIFUMI maintains that one can give as much as one wants as long as it's a gift. What MIFUMI has a problem with is the issue of forced payment and refund of bride price.
To begin saying that bride price should be addressed within the context of the customs of this country is not right. Just like, for example, the way Jesus said that man was not made for the Sabbath, but the Sabbath was made for man. It is the same situation we have here. Human beings were not made for customs, but customs were made for us, and where we feel that the custom is no longer protecting the interests of humanity, then the custom needs to be molded. I mean, long ago, it was customary that women were not supposed to eat chicken. And for me, that was a nutritional denial. Why is it that today women eat chicken? It is because they noticed that the custom needs to be molded.
It's not true that every time you claim you have a culture, therefore it's untouchable. No, cultures are touchable. Like all laws, any law can also be rendered unconstitutional.
If you try to object to a customary marriage, you stand a risk that you will actually be disowned by your family, by the clan. Even your friends are bound to disown you with the very reason that you are not doing things in a cultural manner. So there is no freedom of choice. We do not buy culture. We do not buy into culture as a matter of choices. I mean, you've heard of situations where people say we shall disown you from the clan. Culture is a sense of belonging. You grow up in it right from when you're young. People tell you, according to our culture, we don't do this. According to our culture, we don't do this. So this whole thing of talking about freedom of choice and saying, okay, if these women do not want to be subjected to this and that, why don't they buy out and maybe marry under the legal system or under the civil system and all that? It doesn't make sense.
And paying bride price has become a norm it is a norm in African culture. You get what I mean? And mostly we the Africans, we really believed in our culture and we really loved our culture as an African. Why? Because I've been seeing a situation where guys, people who are not married or people who have not paid the bride price, there's that kind of respect that people tend to your in-laws. When maybe you take a visit to your in-laws, they give you a lot of respect. Like in where I come from north part of Uganda, that is Gula Manacholi. So when you marry somebody from a Chole woman or somebody from the north, they give you a lot of respect. And somebody who has not married, they don't tend to give him a lot of respect.
Someone has married my sister and he wants to bring bride price, I will respect him. But if he doesn't pay, I'll just take him like anything.
People value it in some way. Some said that it's very important for them because when they don't come to their home and fetch them with that bride price, they don't, understand they have been married. And traditionally, it's a very big ceremony of celebration for them that they're being taken to the man's place. Many like bride price paid, but not the amount that is not affordable.
Bride price goes deep. It's culture. It's something that affects every woman in Uganda generally. But my only issue would be to change a few things. I don't mind it staying there. I don't mind bride price staying there, but I think there are a few changes that need to be made in order to, keep the woman respected. Because what happens is bride price, in a way, takes away a woman's value or a woman's respect, because she becomes like a commodity, like you're buying something. And sometimes you find that people abuse the fact that, there's bride price. Just like, okay, I'll take there my 100 cows and she becomes mine. And that attitude is what needs to change, because I look at it like a gift. A woman is priceless, whether you bring 10 cows or 200 cows or 10 cars for my parents, or you buy them a house as bride, it does not matter.
Because there is a price tag to getting into a relationship, it becomes kind of, it's messy. It's messy. It's funny.
I personally would say that if bride price cannot be abolished, then for goodness sake, let it not be refundable after 20 years, 40 years of marriage. Like I have been married for 40 years and my parents are dead. Now if my husband wants back the bride price, where is he going to get it from? You see. So it makes most of the women stay in abusive relationships because they believe that there's nowhere to go. I would like it abolished completely, but the women themselves say they have no status with the bride price. If you talk to the women, I talk to the women in Acholi, sub-region, the women in Lira and the women in Iteso, they think that it gives them status and security. Yes. Because if you are not married, they call it properly married. If you are not properly married, you have no status in the family or the clan. It is a pity that we equate ourselves to cows, because there is no market for a human being. And you can't sell, because now you can get married and they will pay dowry and the man says, I own you. It is really slavery in a way. It's just we are beautifying it by calling it bride price. But the man can, if you marry somebody who can say, well, I bought you, so everything you have is mine, or whatever you do, and he will take your salary and he will do that, and he will make sure you don't even help your people because he has already paid for you.
I don't think it is easy to have a simplistic view of that when culture has outlived its values, it should die out naturally. It will not, because there are people who are proponents of culture. They will stand firm, whether educated or uneducated. They will have practices which they want to maintain as their culture. And secondly, it will evolve. It will not just die, and no, it will probably take on a new form of practice, either for better or for worse.
That one, living culture to take its own part, to die slowly, but when will it die? Assume that it continue dying slowly for 100 years, while our colleagues from other areas, they're moving very fast. So while your friends are doing that one, and with you, you're remaining with your primitive culture. Just, I want to give you an example. I have my cousin's own daughter, got married, and the boy has abandoned her, and he has gone to work in Southern Sudan. Sometimes he comes back to the country, but has abandoned the girl there. But because they paid 3 cows and with 2 goats, this man cannot allow the daughter to come back. Because immediately, some people are just fearing. Immediately, the daughter comes back, he will come using any means, whether kangaroo style, to ensure that he recovers this bride price from this man. And this is the poor people. So, at the end of the day, some of these women, they just remain a slave there. But also you see embarrassment, whereby a woman who has got married, has produced children, has even produced the grandchildren. At the end of the day, then they have the misunderstanding. When wants to leave, she cannot leave. You find people are still embarrassing the family that they want the bride price to be refunded.
No, I think there are certain things in African culture which we should preserve. Yes. But I don't think returning bride price is one of them. I am all for culture, but I really don't believe in selling my daughter to somebody because it is culture. I think that the children should be allowed to meet and marry and make their money together. Because you see sometimes if your family is not there, then the boy has to foot the bill for the bride price, and then your daughter goes there, he has no money, she has no money, and they start at a disadvantage economically. Now, the people who take this money, it is a bonus to them. So I think that culture, much as we would love to preserve our culture, if we have to keep the bride price, it should not be predetermined. It should be left to these people to give something. Because the boy also has got, the parents also spent money on him to educate him.
I think it comes down to the individuals. I think it comes down to those two people. What do you want? What matters to you? But if it were me, I would not put my husband to be under pressure to give my parents something before we get married.
There are very many cases where you find that after a bride price paid, and then they make the father of the girl to refund it when a woman divorce, they separate with the husband. At times you find that they separate when she's very old, she has even grandchildren, but you find that they are still demanding the cows. And then on the other hand, you find that even the father of the girl never enjoyed on the benefits, because by the time they pay these animals, the uncle of the girl has to take something, and then the aunties also the same, and the grand. And then by the time of refunding, even if we goes to tell them, please, assist me, there is this problem, instead they will curse.
The Baganda, they take booze, tomato, what, they are already used. Now how can you refund that which is already used? I think that's where it is funny to refund back.
Without a refund of bride price, there's no valid dissolution of marriage. Even if you have been in separation for many, many years, without a refund, there is no valid dissolution of marriage. There has to be, at least the man must acknowledge that he is not interested in the refund.
Is the refund of bride price constitutional? You know, the judges, when you go to court, ask you to first refund bride price if there's a marriage or divorce issue. This thing is so unconstitutional, and women should be treated with dignity, their welfare should be taken into account, and marriage, this whole thing of refund of bride price, does not give women the equality. It gives people the perception that women are inferior. It gives people the perception that these women were bought. So where you do not value her contribution, you force her to remain in an abusive marriage because she fears to refund this bride price. She fears that her relatives will harass her if she goes back, because they do not want to refund the cows. And also, after a man has been with a woman for so long, he decides he wants a younger woman, he will send her away when she's no longer able to get into another relationship. That is very unfair. So this whole refund, when you look at it under a human rights lens, you just see the injustice and you see the unconstitutionality.